Capturing live from the Series Story Garden Studios in Costa Mesa, California, Bella and I are here with your Thursday Namaste Today.
Why can't you find love? How long have you really been single? Really? Having trouble finding that special soulmate? I can solve this one. Secrets of Birthdays, now live for purchase. Your love trouble? Over. All that and more at stepº4.com.
Good morning and Namaste, and welcome to Namaste Today. I'm your host and inner spiritual life coach, stepº4. My modality I work in is psychic astrology, and my personal mission is to unite the light in my heart and help others unite the light in theirs. I also hope to unite the light in the world as well. Today's webisode covers Thursday, March 24th, 2016, and today the Great Human Walk has reached step 4, Aries. And this is a very big step, I must say, step 4. You're seeing a lot of breakdown, particularly around, I think, the latest terrorism that's going on in the world. And my heart and blessings to the unfortunate people who were around that situation and had to experience that. That's not good. And my heart and prayers go to the healing there. I also think that it's, come time for human beings to really begin to think about the unnecessary use of violence to get our point across. Obviously, the other side thinks it needs to step up its ego to this level. And that means, I think, as a Western society, we need to bow down and be respectful, actually, and maybe ask them what their needs are. I mean, perhaps it's that, we have no tolerance of terrorism, and maybe we need to send in some spiritual diplomats to really start to heal the situation. Just my opinion. But it's a hard time on earth. Everyone's egos are breaking down, and you too may have been humbled somewhere in your life in the last 72 hours. Many of my clients experienced a breakdown early on Sunday, but today, with step 4 within the day, there will still be some breakdown. But first, let me do a shout out and some good news, something I want to bring to the world, which is a show and tell. I'd like to share your gifts, what you make, your jewelry, your services, your books. Basically, I just want to start showing and telling the other light walkers about each other so that we can begin to come and unite as a light. So there's a page on soulgarden.tv under About, Share Your Gifts. It basically explains what we do. We have a staff that'll coordinate with you and coordinate when we're going to go live with it and how to talk about it. And I'm going to make this like a little regular segment that I do as a gratitude to the Lightwalker community. So check it out if you have something you'd like to share and you'd like to increase your audience. The way it works is, people gravitate to it if their heart calls to it. And that's how it works. That's how it all works. So let's see. Let's show and tell. All right, that said, on to today's vibe. Today is going to be cloudy with a chance of storms, I'm afraid. That's because we still have the breakdown of our ego consciousness, also known as Aries, also known as step 9 in my system. We're not really supposed to bring the ego on board until we reach the 9th step of manifestation, but a lot of us rule the ego. A lot of people start with the ego. A lot of people start with step 9. So people will be hitting walls, egos will be breaking down, and we will be humbled still for another day. What are we seeking? Well, our ego is seeking to fight the right fight, okay? And the right fight is for your heart, not for ego's sake, revenge, justice. Even fighting for justice is usually not heart-based. That's more intellectual, really, and very ego-based in lots of ways. So today, my heart seeks innovation, change, a new belonging, a new deal, a new way of behaving. I seek to not react a certain way anymore. I seek to be a better me and let the old me's go. And I seek to let go of my pride issues as well. I feel back and forth and polarized. The moon is in Scorpio, and so we're taking emotional sides with things, and it's quite all right that you feel you need to take an emotional side. I'm open to spiritual peace and harmony. I'm open to total balance and fairness. I'm open to organic justice, and that's because Venus is at step 15 of Pisces. I think about the master solution. I think about the future, the best way to go about it. I think about how to think about it. It's because Mercury's at step 5, of Aries, and our minds are now ahead of the sun. The sun's at step 4. I am acting on my core beliefs. I am walking blindly but with faith. I am pushing thoughts, and maybe it's difficult to be quiet. It's because Mars is at step 5, Sagittarius. And today I'm learning what a fair and balanced reality even looks like. What should it be? How should it come together? And that's because Jupiter is still retrograde at step 16, Virgo. So today, your joy question, you choose to accept it, is to remain patient. Discover your belonging rather than stumble into it. And I understand the ego is all about action, so holding that dumbass back can be so difficult. Even I go into ego tirades. I'm embarrassed, but I do. I go into ego tirades, and I'm like, oh, look what my dog did. He tore up the rug, like he barked too hard, all these types of things. So this is human, okay? The best thing to do is to just try to be patient, find a way to be patient, and discover your belonging. See your ego, observe your ego really mad, and then, consider, well, maybe what if we went this way? What if we went this way? What if I went this way? And in that feeling, which one feels the best? That's to discover your belonging rather than to stumble into it, which is how I still do it, stumbling into it in lots of ways. So no self-judgment. That doesn't help. Now, today we move on in the topic. Instead of today's topic, we have the next webisode of the 11 Steps to Serious Joy. This is me teaching you how to build consciousness through time. And just so you know, the formula is very simple. One day is one step. Our egos right now are breaking down. The good news is you also will break through and build a new ego. A new ego is kind of like training your dog. It's like when to sit, when to roll over, what to bark at. This is also like an athlete who trains and trains and trains, and then when you go into, perform, your body takes over, right? Musicians, I used to be a violist. We train. When the music hits us, it just takes us over. We train our ego. Our ego gets trained by attacks and gets trained by outer influence growing up. But then you reach a certain state of spiritual maturity where you now begin to train your ego. And we want to train our ego to serve our heart, and we want to train it, and we want to build it from the ground up with those intentions. And at the same time, serving the heart means not serving some ego-based intention. So stopping ourselves, putting our ego back in place, catching ourselves, putting ourselves back in place. So this is going to be the process. But if you want to rebuild your ego with me, this is my the spring fling I'm doing to help everyone. Take one day per step. So yesterday we spoke about step 0. So when you start this process, you need one whole day where you are conscientiously thinking through all of your limits, okay, for everything. Then the next day, you have step 1 day, which is what I'm going to talk about today. One whole day of iLove. Tomorrow, step 2, so you do another whole day of I feel. And in 13 days, you can rebuild this consciousness. So without further ado, let's move on to talk about step 1, iLove. Good day, and welcome to the next episode of the 11 Steps to Serious Joy. These are my life's work, basically understanding how consciousness builds and unfolds. And yesterday, we spoke about step 0. Step 0 is literally that when you're creating anything in consciousness, you must hold space for it. You must create the limits and boundaries of which your magic is going to happen. Okay? So that has to be done first. Today, we're going to do step 1. Step 1 is iLove. So basically, after Creator separates us from creation, the very first energy that's given to us is love. We are basically 0 and 1 based, just like our computing. The 0 is no love, the 1 is love. 0 is the potential for love, 1 is love. That's basically the universe. And when we get to 2 tomorrow, you'll realize that it's the fundamentals of reality is basically 0, 1, 2. But today it's about 1, love. Now, love is an interesting term. I think I talk to clients, and I don't think people always understand it. For one, it is as simple as it seems, In other words, love is an energy that's present in our heart. We feel it in our heart. You do feel it in your heart. You literally get tingles here, right? Like when love comes. It's an energy. It's God's energy. And that's basically the first thing to understand. If you have love in your heart, you have God with you. Now, that means if you pick up a Hershey's bar and you're just like, oh my God, I love this Hershey's bar, God's with you for that Hershey bar. Love is an energy that must be conjured up. You must call to it and say, come out, bring it. Creator, I need more and more and more of this, because love is what we create everything with. Think about this. When someone you love is in trouble, you have this endless energy to go there and be there for them. It's endless. You don't eat, you don't sleep. Where do you think that comes from? It comes from your tremendous love for them. Love is literally pouring through your heart chakra and filling the whole body and keeping everything going. And it's really self-love that is this first step one. Step one is self-love. We can use things outside of ourselves to conjure up the love, to conjure up the feeling, to remember it. That's totally fair. It's totally fair to use these things to kindle that reminder. But what you're really loving when you love those things is you're loving being you at that moment. You're loving being you. You're loving this moment of being you and experiencing you. So self-love is that, the love of being you. And it's my opinion that Creator gets off on this. When you really love being you, Creator really loves you. Just like when a toddler does this cute-ass dance in their diaper with a bottle, you're just like, oh my God, that baby's so cute. Creator's the same way. So when we love ourselves, and we really love ourselves, and we love being ourselves, you can't please the universe more. There's no shame. There's nothing harmful. And if we go from this, I love myself, and so do I, okay? That basically is the ability to love ourselves so much that we can manifest miracles outside of ourselves. But you got to love yourself a whole lot to do that. Sometimes we criticize people like, oh, they love themselves a whole lot. That's our inner child actually jealous that we don't love ourselves like that we can't just go off on a, like Donald Trump does love himself a lot. Anyone running for president loves himself a lot. You have to, because when things come at you, your love for yourself has to be greater than all this effect. So self-love is extremely important. I think when ego is also attached, it gets sticky, and we'll talk about that steps down. But I love. Now, there's 3 levels of love, actually, on Earth in my study. And everyone is so good at loving themselves or not. I can tell from your step astrology in your chart how good your soul is at loving yourself. Good as in practice, can do it on cue. All right? Some people can fake it, but you can tell inside they don't really believe it inside. You can tell they're empty. They're just, smiling fake. So the first layer is self-love. Anyone who has step 0 through 11 in their chart has a self-love issue where you're still learning how to love yourself, and you're still learning how to bring the love up for yourself. Now, the stories vary when you look at natal charts. Some people don't love themselves because they were, totally adored and worshipped in a past life, so they've never actually loved themselves on their own terms. They just got so flowered with attention in past lives that now they expect it and don't realize they have to do it on their own. Sometimes people are extremely giving. They've been giving away their whole lives, and they don't know how to love themselves because they've been giving it all away. So the story varies of why you don't love yourself enough. But, you have to love yourself. I always make a joke in my readings that, Marsha Brady in the Brady Bunch is just sitting there brushing her hair in front of the mirror thinking about boys. Every time she combs her hair, she's loving herself. That's 1 stroke of love, 2 strokes of love. Call it shallow, but do you take any time to give yourself love and stroke yourself and to build yourself up into this feeling? Now, boys, I always joke, can tell the girl that has loved herself because she just has this vibrant energy about her. She seems well taken care of and together and beautiful and radiates. That's from the total investment in her, either from her family surroundings or from her parents. Now, the same is true with men, but I think with women, you can really see the beauty when there's good love there, So I bring that as an example. So self-love is the first decan. The second decan is mutual love. So truth is, we don't have any business trading love with people if we don't love ourselves first. All right, so a lot of people want to go out trading love because they're hoping the traded love will fill this. All right, and that's part of the issues of emptiness. So you must first love yourself, and then the next decan is we trade love, and that's the exchange of love. And the exchange of love has all sorts of complications to it as well, because once you start exchanging love, you have to have boundaries, step 0 in place, and rules for the exchange. So a lot of people skip step 0 before they start exchanging. So there's that. And then the highest degree of love is unconditional love. Unconditional love is like the love of Mother Teresa, the love of Gandhi, the love of Buddha, the love of Jesus. These amazing light walkers who just unconditionally loved. Now recognize, to unconditionally love, you have to be expert at self-love, expert at sharing mutual love, and then you can unconditionally love. When I say unconditionally love, well, I do mean to society and the world, but honestly, I don't even think a person can unconditionally love another human being in a relationship if they don't have these other two decans down. So big magic on earth takes big love. Big magic takes big love. You got to love yourself a whole lot to pull off a miracle. The example I always use is Gandhi laying on the railroad tracks. What do you think Gandhi is thinking about on those tracks? He's thinking about how much he loves himself and how much he believes in himself and how much this is actually his calling. He has to be very clear on his self-love and is to call in some major light from the universe, which comes from how proud he is and how much he loves himself and how much he's proud of himself right now for what he's doing. It is self-love that brings in that level of light. All right? You would think it was love for the world. No. Love for the world is not coming from where God gets it, from inside. Receiving love is actually harder for most of my clients than giving it. Most people with step 1 iLove can't receive the love. The reason they can't receive the love in the outer world is because they haven't allowed themselves to receive it in the inner world. And so as a result, they go out trying to trade love, and even when they bring it around, people want to love them, they can't receive it. So receiving love is part of step 1, that I love myself, and you receive that love. Like, wow, feels good to love myself. I love myself. Woo, feels good. And this is something a healthy Leo will do. Healthy Leos are like in the mirror, like, I look so good, and they feel good, and they're just totally pumping up their love, which is what Leos are here to do. Step 1, iLove. They're here to love themselves and be examples of that. So the very last thing I'll point out as I wrap this up is that the opposite of love is not indifference. The opposite of love is not fear. The opposite of love is not hate. In consciousness, the opposite of love is belonging. Belonging. So when you love yourself, okay, that's what love is. I love myself. And the opposite of loving yourself is where it belongs. So when you give love away, that is the opposite of loving yourself, which is okay. It keeps things in balance. The problem is that most people give, and never love themselves first. And so they're giving away, trying to belong places way before they've loved themselves. So keep that in mind as you love yourself for one day. So if you are rebuilding yourself, take one whole day to protect, hold space, that you're going to change your life and you're going to make things great. Take the next day to come up with all the things you love about yourself. I love this about myself, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And in step 1, you build up all the reasons you love yourself, all the reasons why you deserve what you are building, and so it is. All right, folks, let's move on to our next segment. And welcome to the Zen Den. It's such a peaceful day here in Southern California. It's really windy, and I love windy. Reminds me of my childhood, actually, when I used to actually be able to enjoy the earth, mostly because I felt bored and stuck on earth. I was like, but I actually realized now I was enjoying it. So it's a beautiful day. Take 3 breaths now and try to connect to your inner spirit, especially if you've been ruffled today, if today's been a hard day for your ego. then this is a great day to get back in touch with your center of peace, that part of you that says everything will be okay. Okay, and I have an affirmation for you. I belong where my heart tells me today, and so it is. I belong where my heart tells me, and so it is. And this is ultimately, what we're talking about with the ego. The ego may feel like you need to fight a fight or do this or run out there and prove this, but it's our heart that really is the one who should be instructing where we belong. So if you take that time and space, step 0, to ask your heart for the truth and surrender to that, that is really how to humble the ego the best, because it's personal. It didn't take a conflict outside of you. It was decided on your terms with your heart. And a lot of times people just don't give their heart a chance to speak. Okay, that's step 1 to come up. And I had a planet come up. Can you guess which one it was? It is Saturn. Sirius, Sally, Saturn is what came up, and I think I know why. Because we have Saturn retrograding really today. Saturn starts to retrograde today in the next 24 hours. So by tomorrow, Saturn will be retrograde. First, let's start with the Sun. The Sun is at step 4 and making neat circles now. Step 4 is I belong. And this is typically in my research where people break down the hardest. Now, Aries is the sign we're in, which is step 9, the ruler of 9. Okay, so Aries people rule the number 9. And so breakdown means, okay, if we have had our ego pointing to the wrong belonging, this will be a rude awakening for us. And even if we already know is the wrong belonging, our ego still has this kind of humbling sort of moment. So today is that second day of breakdown, as I said. Now the moon is also part of the issue. We have a full moon in Libra. We had a lunar eclipse yesterday. I have to say everything went wrong yesterday. My ego was so pissed. I even lashed out. I mean, I'm not proud of my behavior, but I was proud that I knew it was a lunar eclipse. Something went wrong with readings and things are wrong with calls. So it was a pretty intense day yesterday to pull things off. Not to mention airplanes coming into shoots. So a lot of it had to do with the moon. The moon is in Libra. It's still full. Here I've circled it at step 18 at this part in Libra. That means that we're in the I receive mode, and the universe is calling for us to open up and receive something different, okay? Our ego on the other side might be fighting for the old belonging, and so this is where you have really shifty stuff that goes on, because your ego's fighting for the old belonging, and your feelings trying to just find footing, and so you're trying to find footing with the wrong strength, and so you end up falling down until you realize, you know what, I don't even belong over there. I don't even belong dealing with those people. I don't even belong fighting this fight. I belong with my heart. My heart wants this. I don't care if I appear to lose here. I don't care if they think I'm a loser. We lost. Who cares? My heart wants this. That's the breakthrough. But emotions are super sensitive. And, oops, I didn't make a clean enough circle. Black Lilith is at step 23. And so basically as we emotionally move through the whole spectrum, we're clearing or facing some sort of fear. Okay, and remember what fear is: false evidence appearing real. So if you don't have actual evidence right now that something's wrong, your mind is creating false evidence and creating false space and holding those fears. So if there's not a reason, if there's not an eviction notice on the door, if there's not a big problem right there, then it's false. You have to go with what's manifesting right now and, go by the reality of reality. Now, let's look at Venus. Venus is at step 15. Step 15, this is a magical step. I say it over and over. Now, 6 is how we receive. So, 6, when we get to starting to feel really 6y, we can open up. Okay, that's what I always say. To get to 6, you have to be mindful, step 5, of your heart, step 1. It's right there in the architecture. This is what's so amazing to me. So, if you want to open up, if you want to be able to receive, if you want to be able to receive where you belong, if you want to receive the information, if you want to receive the grace of God, if you want to receive anything, your mind has got to be thinking about your heart. The good news is Venus is at step 15 today. So when a planet goes to a step, people get pulled into it, whether they like it or not, unless they're really good swimmers. And so this is where the planets tend to pull us into things when we resist. So the universe is trying to pull you into your heart today, trying to get you to open up to your heart. And this is in Pisces. So this means that, your highest spiritual good is at the end of this trail. Okay? So lastly, I'll talk about Saturn. Saturn's at step 16. That is the planet Spirit Creator brought up with me. And it's about to retrograde. So basically the way this works is Saturn, what you decide what you love, that's the 1, and what's fair, 6. What you love and what's fair when it comes to believing, all right? And this should add up to your best spiritual good if you're doing it right, 7. What's going to happen is once Saturn retrogrades, the universe is going to play out this decision and run a simulation, a 6-month simulation, where all of the consequences of your decision come in. So whatever you decided now, you start to see it all come in for the next 6 months. And as it does, you're like, I don't know. Is this what it looks? Oh gosh, like a lot of people get the results. And then when Saturn goes direct, it's like, okay, forget that. We're not going to do this. You know what I mean? And you change it. So it's kind of like, what Creator was saying to me is, decide what is fair, what deserve, what is in your spiritual good, what do you believe in, and hold that space because we're going to test it out here starting in like 2 days. Okay, I'm going to stop there. And just say to you that I love you so much. Come on down to the mothership of light, soulgarden.tv, and find out how you can share your gifts. I'll see you in 24 hours with more. Remember, I love you, and live, love, be.
So